You've probably seen these impressive end-to-end AI automation workflows that automatically publish content to your website, but you're not 100% confident in the output quality to actually use them in production. Today, I'm going to show you how to add human-in-the-loop review steps to these automations so you get high-quality results without slowing down your workflow. Hi, I'm Andrew Chung from PressoFlow, and we help growing businesses scale their operations using AI and automations. So here's an example workflow template I got off the N8N website. If you're not familiar with N8N, that's okay, because in this video I just want to show you the principles of how to break down a more complex end-to-end workflow into steps where you can add human in the loop steps to it, make it a lot more controllable, and also give you hopefully better outputs as well. So this can be applied to whichever tool that you're planning to use. But so if you're not familiar with N8N, that's okay, and I can just go through some of the concepts for you to apply to whatever workflow you're working on. So in this workflow, this automatically generates a blog post in your brand, voice, and style from previous articles. So I'll just zoom in a bit and we can see what it's trying to do. So here, it first gets goes to the website, gets a blog, and then extracts the latest blog post, extracts the URLs, it splits this up, it then retrieves the latest articles, the contents. Oh, here, it gets the latest article contents with this one, and in these multiple steps, and then it converts it into a markdown file. So then, for example, if there's a handful of posts, it will combine these articles together. Then it will capture the existing article structure and the voice characteristics, which will combine into this node. And then with that, there's some article instructions in order to create a new article. And this is the LLM step where it creates the new article and then it posts to WordPress. So you can see it's a pretty impressive workflow, which it captures articles automatically, extracts the structure and the voice, and then posts it into WordPress. So let's see how this goes when we run it. At the moment, it is just, I've configured it to just capture articles from the Airtable website, and we'll just see what it posts to our WordPress site. So I've configured everything already. So I'm not going to go through all those steps in this tutorial because it's not really the key purpose of this video. Okay, great. So now that workflow has been completed, we'll jump over to WordPress and to see what the output is. So here I'll just refresh my posts and this has come through. If I just click on that, it has the content here, the title, the body, and basically it's extracted the latest blog post on the Airtable website and it's converted into another custom article with the instructions that were provided to it. So we can see with this one, a lot of stuff is automated, but if we want to think about, okay, how can we be a bit more specific and have a bit more control in how we want things to appear? So let's jump to zoom into this workflow, and then we can kind of see which are the steps that we may want to have some control over. So you can see here, it's getting the latest blog posts from Airtable. So you can apply this to different scenarios where you have multiple sources. Do you want to use all those sources? If not, maybe this is something we want to break out into a human review step, and then we can select which of these pieces that we want to continue on with. So I'm thinking that the first step here, we could make a break here before we combine it, and then we can have that split out into its own separate step. Next one would be potentially the capturing the existing article structure. These are reused with multiple articles, and it does say to, even in this, you might want to just reuse it and keep the tone consistent for other articles. So this is something we can extract one time and then reuse it for other purposes. So here we might want to add a step that pushes it out into a database like Airtable, and then we can reuse that for multiple articles moving forward. This is where you generate the content, and we can click into here and we can see there's instructions on how the content should be created. This is embedded into N8N right now, so you'll have to jump into N8 to make these changes. Depending on the user's comfort level and competency with using these automation tools, you might want to pull that out into another more user-friendly tool such as Airtable. And there they can make the changes to the instructions and then get different outputs. And that's something I can show you later on. Here, the content generation, so it's generating the steps. So maybe what we can do, we can break that down too. So rather than posting straight to WordPress, we might want to have a few iterations and make sure that the instructions is how we want, and we maybe want to tweak it before posting out to WordPress. So there's a couple of steps that we can add there, and I can show you how we get started with that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Airtable, and I'm going to create my database in order to do these new human in the loop steps. So I've got this new Airtable base set up, and the first step would be when we're jumping back here, collating these articles. So rather than pushing it straight into a single workflow, we want to extract it out, and then we can kind of see what the articles are, and we can choose which articles we want to proceed with. So at the moment, this trigger is done internally. It's more like a test workflow, but we need a way to generate it automatically outside of N8N. Sometimes you might want to have a scheduled trigger, but here we want to have control over when we want to generate these, extract these articles. So I'm going to, in Airtable, create basically a trigger table, which will trigger the workflows. So I'm going to call this generate reference articles. Okay, I'm just going to make this simple. You may want to have something a bit more like some IDs or whatever to identify this. I'm just going to have a date for it, and then I'm going to have this as a status. So single select, and the status that I want are, so generate reference articles. So this is the trigger, and then once it's done, I'll just say completed. So this allows you to just know what the stage is at for each different steps. I'll delete these few, don't need that. Okay, so the date is today. Okay, so when I want to generate a new round of articles, I will just hit this and go generate reference articles. So I'll just set this status there for now so we can use it in the Airtable automations. So what we need to do now is we're going to be kind of breaking down this in N8N to trigger these steps. And in N8N, one of the first steps we need to do is create a webhook that will go from Airtable into N8N. If you're not sure with all this, that's fine. I just wanted to show you how do we trigger events from Airtable in N8N. So here I'll create the webhook. Okay, and I just need to copy this, and I'll add it into Airtable. So we go to Airtable automations. So I'll create a new automation when a record matches conditions. So that's what we're going to use. So this one is generate reference articles, and the condition is when the select is generate reference articles. Okay, and then we're going to use run a script. So this is available on the paid plans of Airtable. So I'm going to add this, add a few things first. The record ID. Then I'll add the webhook. That's what I want to add here. And then we want to add the action. So basically, the idea is that we can reuse this webhook across multiple, I guess, actions within like the different stages. So rather than creating separate webhooks, we'll just split out the webhooks based on their actions. And I can show you what that means in a sec. So with the record ID, we pick this, the Airtable record ID, and of course the the main step is the script. So we have that. Okay, so now I just double check this. I'm going to listen for a test event. And here I will run this test. Run test. So I'll pick this. And that has been, oh, there we go, it's done. Yep. And now back here in N8N, we have that, the action reference articles, then we have the record ID coming through, so that's great. So now we have that webhook set up, and then we just have to add some steps in order to capture that phase here. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to add what we call a switch, and that lets you route the workflow based on what some rules. So here we're going to say, okay, where the action is equal to reference articles. We rename it too, so it's a bit more user friendly. It will go down a certain path. So this should be successful. Yep. And then it'll capture this. And then you'll see when we add new pathways, we'll do the same thing with this. Okay, so now we want to copy these nodes and paste it down here and into this new workflow that we're setting up. Okay, and then we can test running that. So sure that's all okay. Should be fine. It's not getting any extra data. Okay, so that's all been tested. So now we go in here, we can kind of see the blog posts being extracted into a number of different outputs. So there's 5 items here. So the data is all here. So now we want to put that into Airtable for us to curate and make sure it's as per what we would hope or want to see in the final output. So I'll just move this a bit, give us a bit of space. So now the next step is to put these reference articles into Airtable. So in Airtable, we will create a new table. Let's jump back here. I'll switch it on. Yep. So in Airtable, we'll create a new table called reference articles. And I'll do the same thing again. We'll have the just date here, so it's easy to track. Okay, get rid of all this. Okay, so I want to create a new field here which captures this data here. So I'm going to map to exactly the same name, the label here. It just makes it easier when we are reusing it for the rest of the steps in the workflow, so we don't have to remap things. So I'll just call it data. I'll also want to capture the URL. And the last step is to have a checkbox to confirm this is the one that I want to use. So when we get a whole bunch of these coming through, we want to say, okay, this is the one we select to progress to the next stage. So here, I'm going to add a step, which is to update Airtable, or create a new record in Airtable. So create record. Okay, so I've already connected my Airtable. I'm not showing you the steps here, but there's instructions and docs on how to do that. So I'm going to choose my database. So it's this one, and the list is the reference articles. So for the date, I'll select the date, which is now, but I'll need to change it to be an expression. So there you go. All right. and the data I will map from there, and the URL I'll actually get from a previous step, and that step is the latest article. So yep, should have that there. Yep. Okay. So now we've mapped it into the Airtable fields, and we'll execute the step. Okay, so we have a problem here where the date cannot accept the provided value. Consider using typecast option. There's some instances in Airtable with N8N. This is a bit more a technical issue where there's it doesn't match exactly, this date doesn't match exactly how Airtable would interpret it. So there is an option to add here, typecast, turn it on, and execute that. And we'll come across this in a number of different instances. So here, that's been successfully passed through. So now if we go back to Airtable, we kind of see these articles coming through. And yep, so they're the ones. I'll just delete these 3 at the top. And yeah, so now we have the extracted data that we can see, the articles that have come through that we can see and review. And if that looks all good for us, we can then choose, okay, maybe I don't want them all, or maybe I do want them all, or I'll just pick a subset of that. So I'll just pick these 3 to be selected, and I'll just call that selected actually, rather than done. Selected. And then that will progress to the next stage, which I'll show you shortly. Actually, one last thing we need to do is also update the status here from the select. So we want to make it be completed. So we'll just go back into our workflow here, and then we'll go into the Airtable update record. And the record we're updating is the original record, not the ones that were just created. So we just have to find that down here. Okay, we'll just get the table set up first. So it was generate reference articles, and ID to match is this, and then the select should be completed. So once that's ran through and it's been completed successfully, we want it to update so we know that that action has been completed. So I'll just execute that. Okay, great. So now get back into Airtable and we can see that now has been updated. So the next step we need to do is we've selected these reference articles in Airtable. Now we want to push that onto the next step of the workflow. So in the original workflow, we had these articles combined automatically, but now we want to just combine the selected ones and then capture the structure and the voice characteristics, and then combine that into the style and brand voice. So this could be different things that may be more applicable for your workflow. The idea is, okay, we've got the things that we selected, the items that we selected, we want to combine them and then push it out to the next step that we can also review as well. Okay, so this next step, I can say it's generating a summary because we're combining the different articles. So we want a summary and to capture the style and brand voice. So let's go back into Airtable and create a new table called generate summary, and we can start capturing the details there. So I'll add a new table, generate summary. Again, I'll make this date. Okay, I'm going to reuse this field. So status is submit for generation. Generation complete. Make that green. Okay, so I'll delete these other fields for now. So we just need to go back to N8N to see what data fields we'll need to capture here. So at the moment we can't see any output details because we need to run the scenario again, and I'll execute the workflow. You can see the details that we want to capture. So really we're targeting this one. What are we capturing in this step? So I'll just wait for it to run through. Okay, so let's run through. We can kind of see what's been coming, it's being passed through into the node. So we have a couple of outputs here. It's basically text, this text field, and then there's this output which is an array of objects, and it's just you can see that there's a number of different output options. So in Airtable we'll just need to capture that in. It may not always be the case that it's going to be like this, and depending on how you design it, it's just because I'm using someone else's existing setup, I'm kind of doing it this way, and it's probably a little bit more complex than it needs to be for our scenario, but I'll just run with this and put this into Airtable. So what we need is text and output as the two different fields. So we'll go text, so long text, so text, output, and then I'll just say select it to checkbox, and that'll be the one that we want to use. Okay, so now we have set up Airtable with that, and let's just put something in so we can generate the summary, submit for generation, same thing, and we'll have to create a automation in Airtable in order to pass this to generate the to hit the webhook in order for it to proceed with the steps in the workflow. So we'll jump over to the Airtable automations. I will duplicate the previous one. I'll actually rename these so I can distinguish them a bit easier. Get reference, articles, and I'll call this one generate summary. Okay, so in here we want to go to the generate summary table and remove that old one. So when status is submit for generation, yep, and the script that we have here is fine. Actually, we just have to change the action. So in this one, we want to call it, say, summary. Okay, and let's test. Actually, before we do that, I will have to create the we'll just test it in N8N. So we'll listen for the test event, and here we'll test the action. So pick that item. Okay, that step was successful. We'll just turn that on. N8N, here we go. So summaries come through, that new action. So now that's come through, we can just step to the switch. So we'll just change this to and add a new routing rule. So when the query action, so basically the same thing, equals, say, summary. Just make sure we copy and paste the same details. Call it the summary. And we can execute that step. So here it will pass down. So when in the webhook, when the action value is summary, it will go to this route, which is the summary pathway. So we can see here, it's not very clear, but yes, it'll go down here. Actually, we'll just move that up. Yep, I'll move this down. It's just a bit clearer. Too far up. Okay, so that's summary. So now we want to get a summary of the articles that we selected in Airtable. So here in Airtable, we picked 3 reference articles. So it's actually a different step from our trigger. So our trigger was in this table, generate summary, but now we want these 3. So what we need to do is do a search using N8N for these 3 items in Airtable. So we can either do a search from selected, but I find an easier way is actually to manage the filtering in Airtable. So just duplicate that, and let's go selected items, and then I'm going to filter, add a filter, selected is ticked. Okay, so these are the ones that we want, and these are the ones that we're going to retrieve in N8N. So here we'll go add a step, Airtable, search records. Yep. So again, we have to pick our database, which is that one. The list is, so we have the reference articles, that's the list that we want to use. So we want to search by additional, which is property, which is a view. So we want to pick a specific view. So it's selected items here. So this will filter it, so it only returns those 3 items that we have selected. Okay, so we'll execute this step. So now we have the 3 items were picked out here. Here you can just see that if you want to, the schema doesn't necessarily show that, but the table should show the 3 different items. Okay, so there we go. We have those 3 items now. They have those properties of the data which can be used in the subsequent workflow steps. So now we go into our previous, the original workflow, and we do the steps of combining it and capturing the structure and then putting those together as well. So let's duplicate those from here. Duplicate. So now we'll update this. We'll just check if it's fine. Here you can see the data, that field matches fine, so it should be processed okay. And then it just combines into these 2 LLM actions and into this step here. So let's run this. Okay, because it splits out here, it's hard to capture. It won't let us capture both these steps into this workflow at the same time. So we're actually going to have to run it, run a test workflow to make sure it's combining okay before we do the final step of adding that back into Airtable. Okay, so I'll just go execute workflow from webhook 1. So it's waiting now, that one. I will go into here to generate a summary. So just double check my automations are on. Yep, they're on. Revert that, and then I'll go submit for generation. Hopefully that will pass through. Okay, so both those steps were completed and combined into this single output, which is very similar to the first, the original workflow, where it has the text field and then there's output, which is an array of objects as well. So now we want to put this back into Airtable. Again, as I said, with this one, it'd probably be saying we'd probably do it a little bit differently depending on the specific use case that you had for it. But yeah, we'll just put it into Airtable now. So what I want to do is add an update summary record action into Airtable. So here, let's go Airtable, update a record. So our summary table here, and the ID to match is the original webhook record ID that was sent through. And then the data that we want to map to is the text here. So that should go down there. And the output will go down into there as well. And also we can change the status to be generation completed. So yep, we'll just execute this step. Okay, so there's an issue with here. I believe if we just set because of this output, it's like in this JSON format, it's in an array, it won't accept it fully successfully, so we just typecast and we'll just try this. Yeah, so now it's just put that output successfully has gone through into Airtable, so we can kind of see that here. and that the text is here as well. So at this stage, you can see we've captured and we split out this original workflow into these two steps, which is one, generating the reference documents, and then two, summarizing it. So now we've summarized it, and the next step is to actually generate the new article content. So again, we need to go into Airtable, add another workflow triggering from there for us to generate the new article. In this original workflow, there is an article instruction which is kind of embedded into the workflow. So what we want to do is actually extract that out, put it into Airtable, so it's a lot easier for us to review and change, and then we can add it into the workflow into one of these steps below. So back in Airtable, we'll create a new table for the instructions. So we'll just call it article instructions and date. I'll just call this instructions. Let's redo this one. Delete these. And also what I want to do is have it as selected, a checkbox. So here, if I have some article instructions, if I have multiple article instructions, I can just choose which one I want to use. So I'm just going to jump into here, pick out this article instruction here, go back into Airtable. So this instruction is write a comprehensive summary of the latest Airtable blog post, close out recommendations using Airtable based on the post topics. Okay, so I'll just say that's my selected one. Again, I'm going to do the same thing with the selected instructions, and then I have a filter. Okay, so we have that, and also for the summary, we want to do the same thing. So we have the selected summary. We can pick if there's multiple different versions there. Selected summary, filter. Okay, so nothing's selected right now, so let's select that one. Yep. All right. So these two are the selected options, so we can choose which instructions or which summary we want to use in the workflow. And I'll show you how to set up now. Actually, before we create the automations for this, we also need to do the generate article step. So I guess with this approach, you have the trigger, which is the generate. So you have this one, the generate reference articles, then you return the reference articles, you generate the summary, and then you return the summary in here. And then we also have a generate article. So we kind of need a trigger for each of the steps, and then we can capture the outputs from each of the steps. I can understand that it may seem a bit like an extra things to do, but the benefit of this is that you can actually, with our generate articles, obviously you can see the articles here. You may want to edit something directly, and same with the summary. Obviously with the JSON, it may be a bit tricky to edit here, but with the text, you may want to edit something here, and same with the, I'll show you shortly with the generate articles. You can edit the article directly in Airtable and make modifications there rather than waiting for another output to happen or trying to regenerate too many at the same time if you only have small tweaks to make. So the benefit of putting it into Airtable is that you have the editability rather than just letting the system run on its own. So the new table we want to create is the generate article. Okay, so that's been created. Delete this. I'll say the status I want to have is, so generate article, and then okay, article generated. I'll make that not red. Okay, so save that. And then also we need to know what fields are coming through in the output. So at the moment, we'll have to go back into our N8N workflow, to see the output. Again, it might be a bit tricky for us to see, but okay, here, I think these are the attributes that we're capturing. So I think we should be safe just using these ones, because these are the content generation agent will output these items. So it was title, summary, body, and characteristics. So let's do that. Okay, so we go long text. Oh no, title can just be a single line text. So that's title, long, and that's summary, long, body, long, characteristics. Okay, so we have that. All right, so now we can create the automation to generate this. So I'll just change that to the date there too. And I'll put that date, this status, generate article. So we'll just jump into automations here, duplicate, go generate article. And then we want a table is to generate article. Status is generate article, and the script, let's call it new article. All right, so now I will jump into N8N, and I will add a new, let's test the webhook first. Okay, listen for test event. Let's turn this on. Test action. Okay, it's done. Yeah, it's come through. So new article, great. So let's go into the next one. So we'll just go. Action is new article. Let's call it new article. Execute. Yep, so that passes our record ID through. So now our next step is to get the generate the new article. Our instructions actually will be coming from Airtable, so we don't have to copy this step, but as we'll replace it in here. So we'll just copy this down, duplicate, put it down here. But first we have to get some get these content from Airtable. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get the instructions from Airtable. Let's zoom in a bit. Actually, no, we'll have to be searching a record because it's from another table. So here we'll pick, the list is article instructions, okay? And what we want to do is get our specific view that we created earlier, which was selected instructions. So if you remember in here, we filtered by selected instructions. So here we can choose which instructions we want to use. So okay, so that's fine. We'll execute that step. That should just return one item back. Yep, that one. Okay, which is great. And our next step is to add the summary that we want to pick. So that's the voice and the structure. So again, we go Airtable. Okay, we'll search a record. Okay, the summary, I believe it was this one, generate summary. Yes, yep, generate summary, yep. And then we want to again pick the selected summary and we'll execute that step. Okay, great. So that's the one that we had selected and it's coming back here. So now we just hook this up to our original node that was generating the content. Let's move that down a bit. Okay. Okay, so with the instructions, previously they were in it's gone red now because they were picking from a previous node. So we just have to select this one, which were the instructions here. That, yep, so that should be fine. And the difference now is we have our system prompt template, which was picking from our previous workflow. We need to update to this current one. So here the brand voice. So this should be this one, yes. The brand voice, the replicator structure. So that's just the text there. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this over across. Replace that, and then we can see now in the preview that it's looking fine. So here's the output. So we have the title, the summary, and the body, and the characteristics of the article. So yeah, so now this is a new article based on the instructions and the selected articles that we had used as references. So now let's push this back into Airtable so then we can review it there. So back in here, we just add a step to go into update Airtable. So update the record. And here, we go generate article. And the ID that we're going to do is the one that we initially selected. Push through, the status we can also change to article generated. The title will be this. Summary is this. The body and the characteristics are there. So let's try that, execute that. Okay, now that's gone through. You can see in Airtable, in our generated article, we have that. The article title, the summary, and the body. So here, this is an example where we can generate multiple options in Airtable, and we can just review it there. So let's just double check that our automation is running. Yep, and I will zoom out a bit, and I will just save this so I don't lose it. I'll execute, yep, that one. Here, create another article. I'll go generate article, and let's watch this. Should trigger, yep. Again, the manual generation is because I'm in test mode. When you're in production mode, it should work without you. It will work without you having to click that execute workflow. So here we have these, a new title, a new summaries come through, and the body content as well. So just say if I want to change my instructions, at the moment we have these instructions, close out with recommendation. Let's change it to something else. I'll just go back here first. So I'll make that date. Okay, so here's a new prompt I want to use. Compile 7 question based on log announcements, final announcements, why Airtable now. I'll unselect the original one, put that one there so I can see my selected instructions is now that. And let's execute this. Let's see what we come back with. All right, great, that's done. So here we've got totally different instructions, which gives us a different output, and the body very different. So it's like FAQs, style, and have that instruction. Why should I choose Airtable now? So here, yeah. So basically, we can change with using this Airtable human in the loop approach. We can change the instructions that we want to have here to generate different outputs of the questions, and then we can also just say we can make changes to here. I don't like that wording to say if I'm in Australia, I will use this organization instead, and make some slight edits to the output here, or maybe just something a bit more significant. Obviously, that's quite easy to do, but yeah, you can see how like using Airtable, you do have that review step, which you can verify if the output is working well for you or not. So that's the article generation aspect. So the last thing we want to do is push it out into WordPress. So basically we want to copy exactly the same approach as the original one, but just have a bit more fine-tuned and granular control over the overall process, hopefully leading to higher quality output. So with this one, let's go, let's pick this as post to, I have a checkbox. Let's go post to WordPress, post to WordPress. Okay, and then we have an automation here. Let's call it post article. And then in here we have generate, but instead I just want to use a checkbox. Post to WordPress is that. I'll just remove this original one. And I'll call that post article. So I'll just copy that action and go back into N8N. And actually, let's test that. Listen for test event. Okay, we'll turn this on. Okay, so go back to that data. So let's post this one, post to WordPress. Okay, that's come through. We'll add our routing rules. Let's rename that, execute the step. Okay, so that's post article, great. Okay, so now we have to add the WordPress posting step here. Just duplicate that. Okay, let's jump down here. Okay, let's put it here. Okay, let's map this to the. Okay, sorry, I forgot to add the Airtable step in there, so we have to actually find the Airtable record first. Get a record. So from the list, so generate articles, the record ID. Okay, let's execute that step. Okay, so that's our FAQ format. Great. Down there. Then now we can connect up to WordPress, and we've got all those details to move across. So title, the body, the slug. So what we need to just do is, rather than copy it across, we just have to just remove that, and then that puts it into the underscore format. All right, so now let's publish this. Okay, great. And then if we go into WordPress, so all posts, your question's answered. So here we go. Yep, so there. So the last thing we need to do now is enable the workflow and update the webhooks that we were using during the test. So here's a test webhook. It basically adds a test at the end. We'll copy the production one and update Airtable automations with the production webhooks. So we'll just have to go to each of the automations we have in Airtable and change the webhooks there. Right, now we go back into the table. So here, when we create a new item, and I hit completed, generate reference articles, then the workflow should run. We actually won't see it now because it's in production, but we can see in N8N the executions. So we go here. Hopefully something will be running shortly. Here we go. Oh, there's an error. All right, so we'll just drill down into the error, and I can see it's the create a record here. And when I click into it, it says that the unknown name field, and that's because we've actually changed the done checkbox to be called selected. So I just need to go back into the workflow, into the editor, go into here, and refresh the list of fields. I've actually done it already, so I've just converted to selected, and now let's re-execute that. So go back to here, toggle it off, toggle it back on, generate reference articles, go to executions, that succeeded, that was completed. The new reference articles have come through in the grid view here. So these 5, I'll then untick these. I'll pick these 2, and I will do my generate summary step. Submit for generation. Oh, actually, I'll just untick that first. Go back to here. Sorry, this is submit for generation. Great, now that's completed. So I'll just remove these empty records. Okay, I'll uncheck that, and I'll tick this. Then we go article instructions. We'll just leave it as is. Select the summary there, and then the generate article. I'll go here. Generate article. Great. Then we'll just click post to WordPress. Check it running in N8N as well. So I believe that's done. So we'll go to WordPress. Previously we had 3. Let's refresh that, and now the 4th one has come through. So there you have it. We've converted this end-to-end N8N workflow, which has multi-steps in it and fully automated, into this human-in-the-loop process where we separate the different steps for checking which articles we're interested in, the summary, and selecting which articles we want to summarize and use, and then generating the content and reviewing it in Airtable, and then publishing it out into WordPress. So within Airtable, you can also make it a bit more user-friendly by creating interfaces for this, which we haven't gone through in this video. That's another one, but obviously you can make this a lot more user-friendly and intuitive for non-technical users who might only want to just do a few steps within that and it can make it very easy for them as well. So I hope this video has given you some ideas on how to convert a fully automated end-to-end AI workflow that may not be fully production ready into a process with human approval steps to give you confidence in the final output. If you're looking to leverage AI in your business in a reliable and repeatable way, please reach out to us through the link in the description below, as we'd love to help you implement these systems in a scalable way. And if you found this content helpful, let me know in the comments if there are some specific workflows you'd like to add human in the loop steps to, as I will base my future videos on your feedback I receive. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.